Have you ever felt like navigating a conversation with a close person is like walking through a minefield? One slip of the tongue and suddenly you're the one to blame for everything, even though your intuition is screaming that something just isn't right. You find yourself feeling confused, questioning your own memory and sanity. If this sounds familiar, you might have encountered the masterful art of the narcissistic lie. This isn't just deception, it's an entire system engineered for control and subjugation. Today we're going beyond just talking about lying. We're going to expose the 7 main signs and techniques a narcissist uses to pull you into their toxic web of deceit. I promise you that after watching this, you'll start seeing what was previously hidden, giving you the power to separate the truth from their skillfully constructed illusion. Ready to uncover how they do it? Then let's begin. Before we dive into the specific techniques, let's pause for a moment and understand why, for a narcissist, lying isn't just a tool, it's the very air they breathe. At the core of narcissistic personality disorder lies a fragile, almost non-existent sense of self. To conceal this inner void and the unbearable feeling of shame, the narcissist constructs a grandiose but utterly false self-image, perfect, omnipotent, and flawless. Their entire life then becomes a theatrical production where they are both the lead actor and the director. Lying becomes the very foundation of this theater. These lies aren't just needed to cover up ugly deeds, as they might be for an average person. They are essential to maintaining the structural integrity of their personality. Any truth, any fact that contradicts their idealized image is perceived as a mortal threat. This is why the narcissist will lie, distort, deny, and manipulate, not because they are an evil genius, but because they are terrified of facing reality. Understanding this is the key to unlocking all their tricks. They aren't defending their actions, they are defending their illusion. So, the first, and arguably the most insidious sign, is gaslighting. The term itself comes from the play Gaslight, where a husband intentionally drives his wife insane by forcing her to doubt her own perception of reality. A narcissist does the exact same thing. They will deny the obvious using phrases like, "That never happened," "You're making things up," or "You're just too sensitive." Imagine you distinctly remember them promising to help you out on Saturday, but when Saturday arrives, they look at you with genuine surprise and ask, "What are you talking about? We never agreed to that. You must have dreamt it." They say it with such conviction, so convincingly, that you immediately start to second-guess yourself. Maybe you really did get confused. Gaslighting isn't just about denying facts. It's a systematic psychological assault. The narcissist's goal is to completely destroy your trust in your own memory, your feelings, and your sanity. They want to become your sole source of truth, the only arbiter of reality. When you stop trusting yourself, you become completely dependent on them. They can mold you into anything and implant any idea because your internal compass is broken. This is a slow poison, gradually eroding your sense of self until you start believing that the problem truly lies within you, rather than being a result of their manipulation. Recognizing gaslighting is notoriously difficult because it strikes at the very foundation, your belief in yourself. Let's take a closer look at how gaslighting works. For the narcissist, it's not a random behavior, it's a meticulously crafted tool. One of his favorite tactics is withholding or blocking. He simply pretends he doesn't understand what you are saying, or he outright refuses to listen. For instance, you try to discuss his hurtful behavior, and you'll hear responses like, "I don't want to talk about this right now," "Oh, are we doing this again?" or "That is just absolute rubbish." Essentially, he doesn't even give you a chance to voice your feelings, invalidating them before you can even get the words out. Another tactic is countering. He constantly questions your memory of events, even when you recall every detail perfectly. He will insist that everything happened completely differently than you recall, presenting his own radically different version of events. He does this with such unwavering confidence that your own memory starts to feel hazy and unreliable, He might even accuse you of lying outright. You're just twisting the story to deliberately make me look like the bad guy. Over time, this makes you fundamentally afraid to trust your own memory. You stop relying on your personal experience because it is constantly being challenged and dismissed. As a result, you fall into a trap. To make sense of what's happening, you are forced to seek clarity from the very person who is confusing you. This creates a vicious cycle of dependence and control that is nearly impossible to break free from. The psychological impact of gaslighting is devastating. Constant self-doubt leads to chronic anxiety and deep insecurity. You start feeling like you're crazy, inadequate, or too emotional. These are the labels the narcissist attaches to you, and gradually they become your own internal monologue. You find yourself apologizing for everything, even when you've done nothing wrong. You are constantly walking on eggshells, terrified of saying or doing anything that might trigger their anger or accusations of your incompetence. Your self-esteem plummets to zero. You lose the ability to make decisions because you no longer trust your own judgment. The world, which once made sense, becomes foggy and unstable. The only stable reference point in this haze seems to be the narcissist, who gladly assumes the role of your guide, leading you exactly where it benefits them. Take the simple example of misplaced keys. You clearly remember putting them on the table, but they aren't there. The narcissist who moved them calmly says, "You always lose everything. Look, they're in your bag." And when you find them in your bag, you think, "Wow, I really am so scatterbrained." One time is an accident, but when these situations repeat day after day, involving different objects and events, your faith in your own sanity begins to crumble. This is the ultimate goal of gaslighting, complete control over your mind. So, how do you actually fight back against gaslighting? The first and most crucial step is learning to trust yourself again. Your intuition and your feelings are your greatest allies. If something feels off, chances are you're right. Start keeping records. Keep a journal where you document specific dialogues, events, and promises. Do this secretly, not to present him with proof. That's useless. He'll deny everything regardless. Do this for yourself. When he inevitably says, "That didn't happen," you can open your journal and confirm that you haven't lost your mind. This practice helps ground you firmly in reality. Second, seek support from the outside. Talk to a trusted friend or a therapist. Tell them exactly what's happening. An outside perspective will help you see the situation objectively and confirm that your perception is accurate. Third, stop arguing. When you engage in a dispute with a gaslighter, you are playing by their rules. They desperately want to drag you into endless debates just to confuse you further. Instead, use short, clear phrases that don't challenge their reality but assert your own. For example, instead of saying, "No, you absolutely said that," say, "I remember it differently," or "I disagree with your interpretation." Or simply, "I'm not going to discuss this." You are not required to prove your rightness to him. Your only job is to protect your own sense of reality. Remember, gaslighting only works as long as you doubt yourself. The moment you begin to trust your own perception, its power simply dissolves. Let's look at another subtle aspect of gaslighting. It often masquerades as genuine concern or care. A narcissist might say, "I'm worried about your memory. You've been so forgetful lately." Or, "You're overreacting to everything. Maybe you should take a break. You must be stressed." On the surface, this sounds supportive and helpful, but what it really is a veiled accusation that you are somehow inadequate. They aren't trying to help. They're actively undermining your self-confidence under the guise of being virtuous. They are essentially telling you your feelings and reactions are abnormal. They are a symptom of a larger problem. This is particularly dangerous because it leaves you feeling not only wrong, but also guilty and ungrateful for their supposed concern. To spot this tactic, pay close attention to the result of these conversations. If their care leaves you feeling worse instead of better, confused, guilty, or deflated, that is a sure sign of manipulation. Healthy concern validates and reassures you. It doesn't make you doubt your own sanity. Here's another myth we need to dispel. The idea that gaslighting is only carried out by highly intelligent and cunning master manipulators. In reality, it is often instinctive behavior, a survival mechanism the narcissist learned in childhood. They may not even fully comprehend the damage they are doing. However, that doesn't excuse the behavior or minimize the harm they cause. Your job isn't to analyze their motivations, it's to protect your own mental health. Recognizing that gaslighting can be wrapped in the attractive packaging of concern is yet another crucial step toward breaking free from its influence. Let's move on to the second most powerful telltale sign of narcissistic deception: projection. This is a psychological defense mechanism where a person attributes their own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or qualities to someone else. Simply put, the narcissist accuses you of the very thing they are doing, or secretly want to do, themselves. It's their way of shedding internal discomfort and shame, essentially dumping their own flaws onto you. If the narcissist is cheating on you, they will constantly suspect and accuse you of infidelity. They will check your phone, subject you to intense interrogations, and demand a detailed account of your every move. If they themselves are a pathological liar, they will call you the liar the moment they detect the slightest inaccuracy in your words. If they are selfish and disregard your feelings, they will scream, "You only think about yourself. You are so selfish." This technique is incredibly disorienting and confusing. First, the accusations are often so absurd and far removed from reality that you become lost and paralyzed, unsure how to respond. You start justifying yourself, defending your character, and proving that you are not that way. And that is exactly what the narcissist wants. While you are scrambling amidst their false accusations, the focus shifts entirely away from their real transgression and onto your perceived guilt. Second, projection forces you into a constant state of self-analysis and self-doubt. You find yourself thinking, maybe I am selfish, maybe I truly provoked him. The narcissist holds up a mirror to you, but it's a funhouse mirror, reflecting their own ugly face, not yours. Let's dive into why projection is so critical for the narcissist. As we've discussed before, their entire personality is constructed around a false, idealized self-image. This idealized image has absolutely no room for qualities like envy, greed, deceit, or infidelity. When these traits manifest in their actual behavior, it triggers intense cognitive dissonance. Their mind simply cannot accept the fact that they, this perfect and grandiose being, are capable of doing something bad. This inability to cope generates an unbearable feeling of shame and threatens the stability of their carefully constructed identity. This is when projection kicks in. They cannot admit to themselves, "I lied." Instead, they find proof of your deception and immediately accuse you. They cannot acknowledge their own infidelity, so instead they hunt for signs that you are the one cheating. By dumping these negative qualities onto you, they are essentially cleansing themselves. In their distorted worldview, they are instantly reinstated as the good one, while you become the bad one. This mechanism allows them to maintain their grandiose self-image and completely evade responsibility. Imagine a child who breaks a vase and immediately shouts, pointing at their sibling, "He did it." The narcissist is that same child trapped in an adult body. They are incapable of self-reflection or taking genuine accountability. Projection is their primitive yet highly effective defense mechanism for maintaining internal balance. By truly understanding this mechanism, you stop taking their accusations personally. You begin to see them not as a reflection of your character, but as the cry of their own wounded inner self, their fears and flaws that they simply lack the capacity to acknowledge. How can you tell the difference between projection and fair criticism? After all, sometimes people do genuinely point out our shortcomings. The key difference lies in the emotional charge and the distortion of facts. Projection is always excessive, irrational, and fueled by intense anger or contempt. The accusations are global in nature. It's not, "You acted selfishly in that situation," but rather, "You are fundamentally a selfish person." The narcissist offers no specific evidence, or their proof is completely far-fetched. For example, they might accuse you of flirting with a waiter simply because you smiled at them. Any attempts you make to explain the situation or offer counter-arguments are met with even greater hostility. They don't want clarity, they want to assign blame. Another key marker is the element of surprise. Projection-based accusations often come completely out of the blue, a total non sequitur. For instance, you calmly ask why they were late, and in response you get a tirade about how you don't appreciate them and only ever nag. This is a classic deflection technique. They feel a pang of guilt over being late, can't tolerate it, and immediately project onto you the guilt for something much larger. Healthy criticism, by contrast, is usually specific, calm, and directed at the action, not the person. It leaves room for dialogue. Projection, however, is a monologue, a wall against which all your words crash. Its goal is not to solve a problem, but to utterly destroy you emotionally. The long-term effects of constantly living under a barrage of projections can be severe. First, it causes chronic guilt. Even if intellectually you understand that the accusations are unfair, emotionally you start believing that something is fundamentally wrong with you. You constantly feel bad, flawed, and unworthy. This completely destroys your self-esteem and often leads to depression. Secondly, you start walking on eggshells. You become terrified of doing or saying anything that might trigger the next emotional outburst of accusations. Your life shrinks drastically. You give up hobbies and stop seeing friends because any of these activities could become grounds for new projections. You lose spontaneity and the joy of life, slowly turning into a shadow, afraid to cast a shadow. Thirdly, you might unconsciously start living up to these projections, a phenomenon called projective identification. When you are constantly told you are selfish, eventually you may start acting selfishly, simply out of sheer desperation. You think, why bother trying to be good if I'm going to be blamed anyway? This is one of the most dangerous traps because it gives the narcissist confirmation that they were right all along, further pulling you into their toxic dynamic. It is vital to remember this. What they say about you is their story, not yours. It is their internal world that they are trying to force upon you. Your essential task is simple. Do not accept that gift. How should you react when someone projects onto you? The most common mistake is immediately jumping into defense mode or trying to justify yourself. That is exactly the reaction the narcissist is hoping for. By engaging in this dynamic, you've already lost the battle. You will never be able to prove your innocence because their goal isn't to seek the truth or resolution. It's purely to offload their intense negativity onto you. The more you try to defend yourself, the more they become convinced of your guilt. The most effective strategy involves emotional detachment and a firm refusal to participate in their drama. Do not take their words personally. Instead, try to view the situation as a scientist observing an interesting, if highly unpleasant, phenomenon. When they start accusing you, do not engage in the argument. Instead, use the grey rock method. Respond briefly, neutrally, and with zero emotion. For example, if they accuse you, "You don't appreciate me at all," you could respond with, "I'm sorry to hear that you feel that way," or simply, "I hear your perspective." You are neither agreeing nor disputing the claim. You are simply confirming that you heard them. This strategy strips them of the emotional fuel, the narcissistic supply, they seek from your heated reaction. Another powerful technique is setting firm boundaries. You might say, "I'm not willing to discuss this," when you are using that tone. "We can revisit this conversation once you have calmed down." Or, "I will not stand here and listen to baseless accusations." The crucial part is delivering this message calmly and firmly, and then immediately following through by walking out of the room or ending the call. This is incredibly difficult, especially early on, but it is the only way to stop the relentless flow of projections and protect your own mental health. The third sign of narcissistic lying, one that often slips entirely under the radar, is the strategic use of omission and half-truths. This is manipulation at its highest level because, technically, the narcissist hasn't uttered a single lie. They simply omit crucial details that completely twist the reality of what happened. They give you a story that is factually correct, but manages to create a completely false impression. For instance, he might say, "I met up with some colleagues after work yesterday. We grabbed a few drinks at the bar." He didn't lie. He did meet colleagues, but he conveniently left out the fact that one of those colleagues was his ex-partner, whom he spent the entire evening flirting with. Or maybe he says, "I had to stay late at the office. We had an urgent project come up." Was there a project? Yes. But he fails to mention that he wrapped it up within an hour and then spent the remaining 3 hours scrolling the internet, just so he wouldn't have to come home and help you with the kids. This specific technique is brilliant in its sheer maliciousness. First, it makes him virtually impossible to catch. If you start asking clarifying questions, he immediately flips the script, accusing you of suspicion and distrust. "Are you calling me a liar? I told you everything honestly." You are instantly made to feel guilty, like a paranoid busybody who's digging for trouble where there is none. Second, the half-truth allows the narcissist to maintain their perfect image while simultaneously doing whatever the hell they please. They can always fall back on the defense, "I never lied to you." And technically, they'd be right. This gives them an enormous sense of superiority and control over you. Why is lying by omission so incredibly effective? It's because it exploits two things: our fundamental trust and our deep desire not to appear paranoid or suspicious. In healthy relationships, we don't feel the need to conduct intense interrogations. We simply operate on the assumption that our partner shares important information with us. The narcissist knows this vulnerability and they weaponize it. They feed us just enough truth to lull us into complacency while leaving the most crucial, incriminating parts completely hidden. It's exactly like a magician's sleight of hand. One hand distracts you while the other performs the trick. The narcissist focuses your attention on plausible, yet insignificant details so you completely miss the gaping hole in their narrative. Their goal is to make you feel fully informed when, in reality, you are being kept in total darkness. They control the information, and therefore they control you. You end up making crucial decisions based on a false reality they have meticulously constructed. For instance, you might feel completely secure about their meetings with colleagues, unaware that these are actually thinly veiled dates. You are living in the comfortable illusion of a stable relationship while they are busy building an entire secret life. And the most terrifying part? When the truth finally comes out, they will almost certainly flip the script and blame you. They'll say something like, "Well, what did you expect? You drove me to it with all your controlling behavior, so I had to hide things." They will turn the entire situation on its head, and the lying by omission will suddenly become your fault, just another one of your alleged trespasses. So, how do you spot this subtle form of deception? Look out for inconsistencies and obvious gaps in their narratives. Narcissists often trip up over their own semi-truths because they have to keep track of who they told what. If their story today differs slightly from the one they told yesterday, that's a serious red flag. Another indicator is either excessive detail or, conversely, a suspicious lack thereof. Sometimes, to make the lie sound credible, the narcissist overloads it with filler. "I took that road, there was a huge traffic jam, then I turned, and the light was stuck on red for ages." They are trying to create a smokescreen of minute details to distract you from the main point. In other instances, their narratives become suspiciously brief and vague. If you ask clarifying questions, "Who exactly was there? What did you talk about?" they answer evasively, "Oh, just the usual crowd," or "Nothing worth mentioning." If you sense that something is being deliberately omitted, trust your gut feeling. If their story resembles Swiss cheese, full of holes, chances are it is fabricated. The most crucial indicator, of course, is how they react to being questioned. If someone is telling the truth, they will answer clarifying questions calmly. A manipulator, however, will immediately jump to a defensive stance, becoming angry and accusing you of not trusting them. This explosive reaction is a sure sign that you've hit a nerve. Dealing with lies of omission requires both tact and firmness. Instead of launching an interrogation, stick to open-ended yet specific questions. Don't ask, "Where were you?" Instead, try, "Walk me through your evening." This encourages a more comprehensive response, allowing crucial details to potentially slip out. If his answer feels evasive, don't hesitate to ask a direct question, but maintain a calm demeanor. For instance, "Was Anna at that meeting?" Remember, you are simply asking, not accusing. Pay close attention to his non-verbal cues. Shifting eyes, nervous fidgeting, or a change in vocal tone can often reveal more than his actual words. It is vital to understand that your goal is not to catch him in a lie. That's a game you'll inevitably lose. Your actual goal is to gather information for yourself, allowing you to understand the reality of the situation. If you systematically notice that he is withholding crucial facts, that speaks volumes. It signifies a profound lack of respect and trust in the relationship. It's a clear signal that this person doesn't feel the need to be honest with you. Do not try to change him or force the truth out. A narcissist will not change. Instead, use this information to make a decision about your future. Are you prepared to live in a world of half-truths and constant suspicion? Or do you deserve a relationship built on genuine honesty and transparency? The answer to that question belongs only to you. Let's debunk a common myth, the idea that people sometimes withhold information purely to protect their partner's feelings. This might hold true in rare, exceptional cases, say when softening the blow of bad news by revealing the full details gradually. But when dealing with a narcissist, silence isn't care. It is always about control. They don't hide information for your sake, but for theirs. They aren't protecting your feelings. They're protecting their freedom to do whatever they want without consequence or accountability. That is the fundamental difference. True care means that the truth will eventually be revealed in the gentlest way possible. Manipulation, however, requires that the truth must never come out because it would immediately destroy their game. Remember this, healthy relationships are built on trust, and trust cannot exist without honesty. When someone constantly hides things, they are robbing you of the right to make choices based on full information. They are treating you not as an equal partner, but as an object to be managed and controlled. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, maybe they just didn't want to upset me, ask yourself this instead. Who were they really protecting, me or themselves? In 99% of cases involving a narcissist, the answer will be crystal clear, and that realization will empower you to stop excusing their lies and finally start protecting yourself. The fourth telltale sign, a lie embedded in the relationship from the very beginning, is mirroring and love bombing. This is typically how the connection with a narcissist begins, and it is the sweetest yet most dangerous lie you'll ever encounter. Early on, the narcissist transforms into your perfect soulmate. He literally mirrors you. Suddenly he loves the same music, the same movies. He even adopts your exact dreams and goals. He praises every quality you possess, even those you previously didn't appreciate in yourself. He utters the exact phrases you always longed to hear. I've never loved anyone this way. We are true soulmates. You understand me better than anyone. These aren't just empty compliments. This is a meticulously planned strategy. He studies your every move, your strengths, your weaknesses, your deepest needs, and your hidden fears, and then he crafts the image of a person who is your perfect match. During this phase, his entire personality is one massive personalized lie created just for you. You aren't falling for a real person. You are falling for your own reflection, an expertly fabricated avatar. This is the primary deception, and so many fall for it because it feels incredibly pleasant and utterly convincing. Against this backdrop, the love bombing begins. He showers you with excessive attention, expensive gifts, and a constant barrage of messages and calls. He rapidly speeds up the relationship timeline, declares his love immediately, and pushes for moving in or even marriage. All of this creates the illusion of incredible, all-consuming, fated love. But make no mistake, this isn't love. It is a calculated tactic of capture and control. The purpose of love bombing isn't to make you happy, it's to get you hooked and emotionally dependent as quickly as possible. The narcissist generates a state of euphoria, supersaturating your pleasure receptors. They become a source of incredibly potent positive emotions for you. It truly feels like a drug. And as soon as they sense that you are dependent, that you cannot function without this fix of attention and adoration, the next stage begins: devaluation. The perfect prince suddenly transforms into a cold, hypercritical, perpetually dissatisfied tyrant. This is where the entire lie of the initial phase is exposed. The person you fell in love with never existed. It was merely a mask, a role they played solely to conquer you. This abrupt shift from idealization to devaluation is one of the most painful and disorienting moments in a relationship with a narcissist. You can't comprehend what happened. You desperately try to bring back that wonderful initial person. You blame yourself, and you try to be better, more accommodating, but it's all in vain. You are chasing a ghost. The real person is right there in front of you, and they bear no resemblance to the fairy tale you were sold. Realizing that the entire initial stage of the relationship was a calculated deception is a bitter but necessary pill to swallow. You are grieving not for a lost relationship, but for the profound illusion they forced you to believe in. How do you distinguish a truly strong, sincere connection from classic love bombing? There are several major red flags to watch out for. The first is speed. Everything happens way too fast. Someone who barely knows you is already talking about eternal love, moving in together, marriage, or even children. Healthy relationships develop gradually. People take time to get to know each other, and trust builds naturally over time. A narcissist, however, attempts to skip all those crucial steps. The second sign is intensity. The narcissist's attention feels excessive, even obsessive or suffocating. They want to consume all your time and space, effectively isolating you from friends and family. They might get visibly upset or guilt-trip you if you choose to spend an evening away from them. A genuinely loving partner will respect your personal space and your existing social connections. The third flag is idealization. They don't just love you, they put you high up on a pedestal. You're the smartest, the most beautiful, the perfect person. This might feel great, but it's entirely unrealistic. No one is perfect. This kind of idealization is simply the flip side of devaluation. The person who elevates you to the heavens today will just as easily tear you down and drag your name through the mud tomorrow. Healthy affection is based on accepting a person with all their strengths and flaws, not worshipping an imaginary image. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Trust that gut feeling, that inner voice whispering that something just isn't right. The emotional fallout from realizing you were a victim of this massive deception can be devastating. You feel fooled, foolish, and deeply used. Your general trust in others is likely shattered. You begin to second-guess your judgment of people and even your own intuition. Questions like, how could I have been so blind? How did I miss all the signs? Can torment you relentlessly. It is crucial to understand that none of this is your fault. Narcissists are world-class experts in manipulation and deceit. They've honed their deceptive skills for years. They know exactly how to identify your vulnerabilities and strike with surgical precision. Anyone who craves love and acceptance can easily fall into their trap. Forgive yourself for believing the illusion. You fell for it not because you were naive, but because you possess the profound capacity to love and to trust. Instead of engaging in self-blame, redirect that energy toward healing. Acknowledge that you were tricked. Accept that the person you loved was nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion. This is painful, but it is the critical first step toward freedom. Allow yourself to grieve this loss, not the loss of a person, but the loss of the future you dreamed of having with them. And remember this experience, no matter how excruciating it feels right now, can become your most valuable life lesson. a lesson in self-worth, a lesson in setting unbreakable boundaries, and ultimately a lesson in distinguishing authentic love from its cheap and damaging imitation. We often fall for the myth that if someone put in so much effort initially, there must be a good core underneath, and we can somehow get them back. This dangerous delusion is what keeps countless victims trapped in toxic relationships for years. They hold on to the hope that if they are just good enough, just loving enough, the perfect partner from the love-bombing phase will reappear. But he won't return because that person never actually existed. The love-bombing wasn't a glimpse of their good side. It was a cold, calculated tactic designed purely to achieve a goal. Think of a hunter laying out attractive bait to lure prey into a trap. No one believes the hunter genuinely loves the animal. The same applies here. The narcissist didn't love you in the beginning. They were hunting for a resource, your attention, admiration, and energy supply. Once that resource was secured, the mask was discarded as unnecessary. Trying to get back to that initial period is like attempting to revive a mannequin. It is pointless and utterly exhausting. The only way to win this game is to stop playing. Accepting that the initial stage was a lie doesn't negate your own genuine feelings. It means separating the truth from the fiction and finally letting go of the illusion that is destroying your life. Your freedom begins the moment you accept the truth, no matter how painful it may be. The fifth sign of narcissistic lying extends far beyond your personal relationship, pulling other people into their orbit. We're talking about the use of flying monkeys and the orchestration of coordinated smear campaigns. The term flying monkeys is, of course, borrowed from The Wizard of Oz, where the Wicked Witch sends her winged servants to do her dirty work. A narcissist operates in exactly the same way. When they sense they are losing control over you, or when you finally make the decision to leave, they immediately start spreading lies about you to your entire circle, friends, relatives, and colleagues. They recruit these people into their army, effectively turning them into their flying monkeys. And they accomplish this by playing the victim to perfection. They will tell everyone how miserable they are, how deeply they are suffering because of your mistreatment, your alleged inadequacy, or your betrayal. They will cry, complain, and put on a spectacular show of heartbreak. Their narrative will be so utterly convincing that many people will believe them immediately. After all, they appear so charming and heartbroken, while you, according to their story, are the monster. This is how they successfully weaponize your own social circle against you. The people you trusted suddenly start looking at you with suspicion, judgment, or pity for the narcissist. They might even try to persuade you to reconsider, be kinder, or give him one more chance. They have no idea that they have become mere pawns in the narcissist's game, used as tools for your manipulation and control. This tactic serves several key purposes. First, it is isolation. By turning your entire social circle against you, the narcissist effectively cuts off your support system right when you need it most. When even close friends and family refuse to believe your story, you start to feel completely alone. This severely undermines your resolve to leave and forces you to doubt your own perception of reality. The inevitable question that pops into your head is, maybe I'm the one who is wrong if everyone else sees it differently. Second, it is about controlling the narrative. The narcissist absolutely cannot allow the truth about their behavior to surface, as it would instantly shatter their meticulously crafted ideal image. Therefore, they launch a preemptive strike, immediately spinning a version of events where they are the helpless victim and you are the aggressive abuser. They spread these lies so widely that by the time you attempt to tell your side of the story, no one will believe you. This is known as a smear campaign. They will lie about you in the most atrocious ways, often accusing you of the very toxic behaviors they are guilty of themselves. This is projection on a massive public scale. Third, it is purely about revenge. To the narcissist, your departure is a narcissistic injury, an intolerable affront to their sense of grandiosity, and they will retaliate by trying to destroy your reputation, your social life, and even your career. They want you to suffer. They want you to pay dearly for daring to reject them. How does the narcissist manage to be so incredibly convincing? It all comes down to a few key techniques. Their campaign often starts long before the actual breakup by subtly poisoning the well. In seemingly confidential conversations with mutual friends, he might start hinting at your instability, your mental issues, or your tendency to dramatize everything. He frames these jabs as genuine concern for your well-being, saying things like, "I'm so worried about her, she hasn't been herself lately." By the time the relationship actually ends, the groundwork is already laid. People are predisposed to believe his side of the story because he's already successfully sown the seeds of doubt. Furthermore, narcissists carefully select their flying monkeys, individuals who are often naive, overly trusting, or who possess narcissistic traits themselves and enjoy getting involved in other people's drama. He masters finding the precise words to manipulate each person, playing on their emotions and their inherent desire to help a poor, unfortunate victim. His performance as the victim reaches unbelievable heights. He might cry openly, wring his hands, and demonstrate such agonizing, sincere grief that questioning his version of events feels almost sacrilegious. He constructs a powerful coalition specifically against you, leaving you in the position of having to constantly defend yourself against lies that spread like wildfire. What should you do if you become the target of a smear campaign? First, and most importantly, do not try to defend yourself or justify your actions to the flying monkeys. It is pointless. They have already taken the aggressor's side. Any attempt you make to protect yourself will only be interpreted as confirmation of your hysteria or instability. You will only waste your energy and peace of mind. Instead, focus on those who remain on your side, the people who know the real you and haven't bought into the lies. These are your true friends. Cherish them and rely heavily on their support. Second, maintain your dignity. Do not sink to their level and do not start slinging mud back. That is exactly what the aggressor is waiting for. Any emotional reaction you show will be used against you as proof that they are right. Your calmness and composure are your best weapons. This throws them off balance and completely disrupts their narrative. Third, if the lies affect your reputation at work or contain direct defamation that could have legal consequences, document everything. Save screenshots, messages, and emails. You may need to seek legal counsel, and most importantly, remember that the truth always comes out eventually. People are not stupid. Sooner or later, they will see the inconsistencies in the aggressor's behavior and realize their true face. And you, having gone through this ordeal, will only become stronger and learn to distinguish true friends from fair-weather acquaintances. Let's debunk another common myth. You must fight for your reputation and prove the truth to everyone. This is a completely understandable, natural impulse. But when dealing with a narcissist, this fight is a trap. He is actively drawing you into a public war where he has vastly more experience and zero moral boundaries. He is willing to lie, manipulate, and use the dirtiest tricks imaginable. As a decent person, you are simply not equipped for that level of conflict. By attempting to prove your point to the world, you remain emotionally tethered to him and the whole toxic situation. You keep playing his game. True liberation arrives when you genuinely stop caring what he and his flying monkeys think. Your self-worth should not depend on their opinions. You know the truth. Your trusted circle knows the truth. That is all that matters. The energy you would waste on this pointless struggle should instead be poured into building your new, successful, and happy life. In time, his lies will lose all credibility because your peaceful, thriving reality will be the best possible rebuttal to all his smears and insinuations. Focus on yourself, your healing, and your future. This is the most effective way to win this war, by refusing to participate. The sixth sign of narcissistic deceit is their masterful ability to sidestep the issue through changing the subject or sheer distraction, a technique also known as deflection. This is their signature move when you finally pin them against the wall with undeniable facts. Picture the scene. You've caught them in an outright lie, you have irrefutable proof, and you calmly but firmly confront them about it. It seems like they're completely trapped. But that's when the performance begins. Instead of addressing your direct accusation, they suddenly bring up some mistake you made 3 years ago. Oh, remember when you forgot to wish my mum a happy birthday? That was truly awful. Or they launch a full-scale personal attack. You're always looking for something to nitpick. You just love trying to control me. Alternatively, they might shift the entire conversation. Speaking of which, we need to discuss the budget. You're spending way too much money. In the blink of an eye, the spotlight moves off their lie and lands squarely on your alleged guilt, your flaws, or completely irrelevant problems. Caught utterly off guard, you start defending yourself, scrambling to justify yourself against the new accusation. Suddenly you've forgotten what the initial conversation was even about. Mission accomplished. They have successfully evaded accountability once again. This tactic works because it throws you completely off balance and plunges you straight into emotional chaos. You prepared for a serious discussion about one specific issue, only to find yourself caught in a hurricane of counter-accusations, dredging up old grievances and completely unrelated topics. The narcissist masterfully deploys what is commonly known as word salad, a torrent of rambling, illogical, contradictory statements designed to utterly confuse and exhaust you. They might jump wildly from one subject to the next, mix facts with pure fiction, and use overly complicated, convoluted phrasing. Your head starts spinning, you completely lose the thread of the conversation, and you feel foolish or incapable of holding a constructive dialogue. Eventually, you simply surrender out of pure exhaustion. You agree to anything just to make the nightmare stop. And that is the narcissist's ultimate goal. They are not looking for dialogue or seeking the truth. Their objective is to win the argument at all costs, and the greatest victory for them is forcing you into silence and making you doubt your own sanity. They turn the conversation into a battlefield with no rules and no logic, only their desperate need to dominate and evade responsibility. They won't answer your core question because they know any direct answer will be a losing one. Instead, they simply change the rules of the game entirely. How do you spot deflection? The main sign is that you ask a direct question and receive everything but an answer. The conversation gets completely derailed. Instead of discussing his specific behavior, you suddenly find yourself discussing your own character, your past mistakes, or even abstract philosophical problems. Another red flag is a sudden, sharp shift in emotional tone. You might start the conversation calmly, but within a minute he's yelling, accusing you of every single thing that's ever gone wrong. This escalation is just a tactic intended to intimidate you and make you back down. Also pay attention to the use of sweeping generalizations like, you always, or you never. These phrases shift the discussion away from the specific incident and turn it into a global assessment of your personality, where you are automatically positioned to be in the wrong. And of course, the classic maneuver, playing the victim. In response to your complaint, he starts whining about how hard his life is, how much you don't appreciate him, and how exhausted he is. Before you know it, you feel guilty for attacking this poor, miserable person. If, after the conversation, you feel completely drained, confused, and guilty, yet still haven't received an answer to your initial question, you've just been deflected. You just took a ride on the avoidance roller coaster. Dealing with this tactic is incredibly challenging, but it's not impossible. The main rule is simple: don't take the bait and don't let them derail the conversation. Stick strictly to your original topic. For this, you can use the broken record technique. Calmly, almost robotically, repeat your question or statement over and over, completely ignoring all their attempts to change the subject. For example, them. Well, you're not perfect either. Remember when you... That's not what we're discussing right now. I need an answer to my question about your dishonesty. Them. You just like controlling me. You. This isn't about control, it's about clarity. Let's get back to my original question. This requires immense patience and self-control. Do not raise your voice and do not get drawn into a shouting match or argue about their counter-accusations. Simply, methodically, bring them back to the starting point. Sooner or later, they will either lose their temper and reveal their true colors, or they will simply end the conversation. Either way, you will have prevented them from dodging the question and confusing you. It's also helpful to define the goal of the conversation beforehand. What exactly do you want to achieve? An apology? An explanation? An admission of guilt? Keep that goal firmly in mind and don't let yourself get distracted. If you realize the discussion is turning chaotic and unproductive, it's best to end it. You can simply say, "I see we're not having a constructive dialogue. Let's just finish this conversation now." This is also a vital form of boundary setting. It's crucial to understand this. When a narcissist deflects, they are essentially waving the white flag. They know they're wrong. They know they have no argument. Their avoidance is the answer. It is a silent confession of guilt, dressed up as an aggressive attack. Let's bust the myth that if you can just be more convincing, if you can find the right words, you'll be able to break through and force them to admit the truth. That is an illusion. It's not about your arguments or your logic. It's about their deep-seated inability and unwillingness to take responsibility. No amount of facts, no amount of evidence will ever make them say, "Yes, you are right, I lied." For them, that is total annihilation. So stop wasting your energy trying to squeeze a confession out of them. Your goal is not to convince them. Your goal is to gain clarity for yourself. And their refusal to give a straight answer is the clearest demonstration of their guilt you will ever get. Accept this as a fact and draw your own conclusions. Stop playing their game of catch me if you can. Instead, walk away from the table and start playing by your own rules. Rules where honesty and accountability are non-negotiable requirements. And finally, the seventh sign, which is often the most shocking in its sheer pointlessness, is the pathological lying about the small things. A narcissist doesn't just lie when they need to cover up something serious. They lie constantly about every single thing, even when there is absolutely no necessity for it. They might lie about what they had for breakfast, what book they're reading, or what movie they watched last night. They invent incredible stories about their past, their achievements, and the people they know. They might tell you their uncle is a famous politician, when in reality, he works as a plumber. They might claim they were a swimming champion in their youth, even though they can barely stay afloat now. This lying often seems utterly absurd and is easily verified, and you're left wondering, why? Why lie about such complete nonsense? The answer lies in the very core of narcissism. The narcissist cannot accept their ordinary, real life. It seems dull, boring, and simply not grand enough. So they are constantly editing reality, embellishing it, and fabricating fictional details to make their life, and themselves, seem more significant, interesting, heroic, or, conversely, more tragic and deserving of sympathy. They are a fictional writer, and their life is their magnum opus. And crucially, they genuinely believe in the fabricated reality they create. This persistent habit of lying about trivial things serves multiple purposes. First, it's practice. Lying about the insignificant things allows the narcissist to hone his craft, learning how to be truly convincing. Think of it as daily exercise for the deceiver. Second, it's a way to test boundaries. He's gauging exactly how absurd a lie you are willing to swallow. The more you accept these minor fabrications, the easier it becomes for him to deceive you about something truly serious. This is the slow erosion of your ability to distinguish fact from fiction. Third, and perhaps most crucially, it's how he maintains his false self. The real person underneath is often boring and profoundly insecure. The fictional version, the one he presents, is the hero, the genius, the martyr. Every single lie becomes another brick in the wall, separating him from the terrifying truth about who he really is. He exists within the world of his own fantasies, and his goal is to pull you into that world alongside him. When you listen to his stories, you aren't just communicating, You are participating in his personal theatrical production. Sometimes, during this process, you might notice a phenomenon known as duper's delight. That barely perceptible, fleeting smirk or a certain glint in his eye right at the moment he successfully deceives you. He genuinely enjoys the act of manipulation itself, the rush he gets from feeling intellectually superior to you. So, what do you do when you are faced with this kind of blatant, nonsensical lie? Your initial reaction is to try and catch them out, expose the falsehood, and rub their nose in the facts. You want to say, "Hold on, you said the exact opposite yesterday." That is a huge mistake. Instead of remorse, what you'll get back is narcissistic rage. They will accuse you of being petty, of distrusting them, and of splitting hairs. They will create a huge scene just to punish you for daring to question their manufactured reality. Remember this. For them, this lie isn't just a statement, it's a fundamental part of who they are. When you attack the lie, you are attacking them. Arguing with them about the color of the car in their made-up story is like arguing with a novelist about why their main character took a certain action. It's their world, and they are the undisputed master of it. The best strategy, therefore, is simply to observe and draw your own conclusions. Do not argue, do not attempt to prove anything. Simply make a mental note of every single lie. This growing collection of small deceptions should serve as a deafening alarm bell for you. A person who lies about what they had for breakfast will not hesitate to lie to you about things that are far more important: infidelity, money, or their true intentions. Pathological lying, even about minor details, is not a harmless quirk. It is a symptom of a deep-seated personality disorder. It is an indicator that you are dealing with a person who does not operate within the same shared reality as you do. Living with a pathological liar has profoundly serious consequences. You lose all sense of what is real and what is fabricated. Your entire perception of reality becomes dangerously unstable and fragile. You begin to lose trust, not just in him, but in the world as a whole. You are constantly tense, trying to separate the wheat from the chaff in his unending stream of words. This takes an unbelievable toll on your mental and emotional health. Furthermore, the isolation is profound. You can't share your struggles with your partner because they are the very source of this confusing, fabricated reality. You are forced to live in two parallel worlds, the actual reality and the fictional one he constructs around you. This leads to a deep sense of isolation and detachment. It is vital that you understand this. You cannot cure him of this pathology. Your love, logic, or reasoned arguments cannot bring him back to reality. He doesn't want to come back. His manufactured world is far more comfortable for him than the truth. Your only priority right now is to save yourself. You must understand that if the foundation of a relationship is built on lies, even the smallest ones, the entire structure is doomed to collapse. Don't wait for the inevitable crash. Find your exit while you still have the emotional strength left. Life with a pathological liar is like living inside a funhouse mirror. And the longer you look at that warped image, the more distorted your own true self becomes. In conclusion, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. A narcissist's deception isn't an isolated incident. It is an entire, comprehensive system that permeates every single interaction they have with the world. They don't lie simply because it's convenient in the moment. They lie because they are fundamentally incapable of doing anything else. Their very identity is the lie. All of their tactics, gaslighting, projection, omissions, love bombing, smear campaigns, deflection, and even the pathological minor lies are nothing more than tools designed to uphold this single, fundamental falsehood. They construct a fictitious universe around themselves where they are the hero, and everyone else is merely a supporting character in their play, and they demand that you inhabit this universe and abide by their rules. They cast you in a role, and if you refuse to play it, their next goal is to destroy you. The most crucial realization you must come to is this: it is not about you. You cannot be good enough, understanding enough, or loving enough to make them stop lying. Their lies have absolutely nothing to do with who you are. This is their internal survival mechanism. Trying to change them is like trying to teach a fish to fly. You will only waste your time and energy, and in the end, you'll be left with nothing but heartbreak and frustration. The only way out is to recognize that you are dealing with someone who genuinely lives in a separate reality, a reality that yours can never, ever intersect with. When a normal person lies, you can talk it out, figure out the cause, and work toward a resolution. They might genuinely regret it, ask for forgiveness, and try to do better. With a narcissist, that is simply not an option. For them, admitting a lie means admitting imperfection. To a narcissist, that is tantamount to ego death. That's why they will defend their lies to the bitter end, utilizing their full arsenal of manipulation. They will blame you for exposing them. They will twist the situation until their lie somehow becomes your problem. For example, yes, I lied, but that's only because you would have made a scene if I told the truth. Do you see? Even when admitting the lie, they still manage to dump the responsibility squarely onto you. With a narcissist, there is no constructive dialogue about truth and deception. There is only a battle, a fight they will wage relentlessly to protect their fabricated illusion. And you cannot win this war. Your only option is to walk away and preserve your sanity. Stop looking for the truth in their words. Start looking for it in your own gut feeling, in your intuition, and in the facts you see with your own eyes, not in the stories they weave for you. Your reality is the only reliable guide you have in the fog of their deception. Identifying these 7 signs is your crucial first step toward freedom. Once you start recognizing these patterns, you are no longer a blind victim. You become an observer, you see him trying to gaslight you, and you inwardly say, "Aha, there it is. I know exactly what this is." You hear his projections and realize he's not talking about you, he's talking about himself. You notice the omissions and understand that important information is being deliberately hidden from you. This ability to see right through his manipulation strips him of his power. His magic stops working. He might still try to pull the strings, but you are no longer the puppet. You no longer buy into his stories, you don't fall for his accusations, and you refuse to be pulled into his dramas. You gain emotional freedom even before you physically exit the relationship. This knowledge is your armor. It protects your mental health, your self-worth, and your right to your own reality. Remember that you are not alone. Millions of people have gone through this same experience. Educate yourself, seek support, and trust your instincts. Escaping the narcissist's web of lies is a long and difficult journey, but it leads to a genuine, honest, and happy life. A life where you will never again have to doubt yourself or the reality right in front of you. It's crucial to understand a fundamental truth. The narcissist will not change. Many people, after realizing their partner is a narcissist, attempt to save or fix him. They genuinely believe that if they just show him enough love or meticulously explain where he went wrong, he will finally see the light, realize his mistakes, and change his ways. This is the most dangerous and destructive illusion you can hold. Narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is widely recognized as one of the most treatment-resistant conditions in psychology. Most narcissists never seek help because they genuinely do not believe anything is wrong with them. The problem, in their mind, is always external. It's always someone else. And even when they are dragged into therapy, often by a desperate partner, they frequently utilize the sessions to learn how to manipulate more effectively or with greater finesse. They aren't looking for healing, they are simply looking for new tools. Your attempts to change him will be immediately perceived as criticism, as yet another assault on his grandiose sense of self, which will only trigger rage and further manipulation. You must let go of that hope. You cannot change another person. You can only change yourself and ultimately your own life. Accept him for who he is, a person incapable of genuine honesty and empathy, and then make the difficult decision. Are you willing to spend the rest of your life living alongside that reality? But now let's talk about the most important thing. Years spent in a relationship with a narcissist leave deep scars. You emerge with shattered self-esteem, chronic anxiety, and a deep distrust of others. It may take time to relearn how to trust yourself, your feelings, and your own perception of reality. This is normal. Give yourself that grace period. Be kind and patient with yourself. The recovery process is a journey back to your true self. This is a time when you get reacquainted with your authentic self, your desires, your needs, and your boundaries. You learn how to say no. You learn to prioritize yourself. You learn to enjoy simple pleasures that don't require external validation or approval. You might need the help of a professional, a therapist or counselor specializing in narcissistic abuse recovery. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of immense strength. It means you value yourself enough to invest in your own mental health and well-being. Connecting with others who have shared similar experiences, whether in support groups or online forums, can also be incredibly healing. You will realize you are not alone, that your feelings are valid, and that there is a way forward. Your main goal after leaving a toxic relationship is not to find a new partner, but to find and love yourself all over again. Remember this. A narcissist doesn't choose weak, hapless people as partners. Quite the opposite. Like a vampire, they are drawn to individuals who are bright, empathetic, vibrant, and full of life. They choose people with an inner light, only to bask in that glow and eventually extinguish it. The very fact that you were their target proves you possess everything they lack: genuine kindness, the capacity to love, and immense inner strength. They tried to strip all of that away, forcing you to believe you were worthless. But that is a lie. It is their core delusion. All those wonderful qualities that first attracted them haven't vanished. They are simply buried deep beneath layers of pain, fear, and self-doubt. Your task now is to unearth that treasure. Start remembering who you were before they came along. Think about your dreams, your passions, and your true friends. Slowly begin integrating these things back into your life. Every small step is a victory. Every decision made in your own favor is an act of radical self-love. The path to healing is the journey of reclaiming your life, your truth, and your own light. And you absolutely will succeed. You are stronger than you realize. You survived something that would have broken most people. Now you have invaluable experience and a hard-earned immunity against manipulation. Your future is in your hands, and it has the potential to be truly wonderful. So, we've covered the 7 deadly lying techniques that narcissists use to control and destroy. From gaslighting, which makes you doubt your own sanity, to projection, where they blame you for their own sins. We saw how they use half-truths and omissions to construct a false reality, and how the initial love-bombing phase is nothing more than a carefully crafted sweet trap. We also learned how they mobilize flying monkeys to spread their smear campaigns, how they dodge accountability with word salad, and why they lie even about the most trivial things. The main takeaway here is this. For a narcissist, lying isn't just a tool, it is their very essence. Living with them means residing in their fabricated world, where the truth is irrelevant and your feelings are just an inconvenience. But the most dangerous lie they tell is that you are weak and insignificant. That is not true. You are strong, you are capable of seeing the truth, and you deserve a life built on honesty and respect. Thank you for watching this important video all the way through. If these descriptions resonated with your own situation, please know that you are not alone and there is a way out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos on relationship psychology, and hit the like button if you found this topic helpful. Now I want to ask you a question. Which of these lying techniques have you encountered most often? Please share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be a guiding light for someone else who is currently in the darkness. and searching for a path back to the truth. Let's support each other. Ought.